Oh hey guys, let's talk about some pro tips when drawing in Flash. So I've got this file here, and the number one thing that I want to be aware of when I'm thinking of where I'm drawing is whether or not I'm inside of the symbol that I want to be drawing inside of. So from this, all you see is I'm out here on the stage, I've got a drawing here, I should be able to draw on it, right? Well, you'll notice as I start to draw, there's no visible difference between my line and the line in here until I start trying to grab stuff and move it around. You'll notice that if I grab a corner point, I'll zoom in here so you can see it better. While the corner point is grabbed, I'm seeing the entire outline of the shape that I just painted, and that's an instant signal that something is wrong. I haven't been drawing inside of the symbol where I need to be. You can test whether or not it's a symbol by clicking on a shape. If I click on this fill, you see that it lights up with this little grainy texture, but if I click on a symbol, it shows me a bounding box. So if I want to get this shape inside of the symbol, the best thing to do is to click on it, do Control-C, double-click inside of the symbol, go to the layer that I want, which is this top layer. I can get there by clicking on that, do Control-V, and then I can position this and match it up with the arrow keys while the selection tool is selected. To get it nudged just right, I can even zoom way in and use my arrow keys some more to get it. Unfortunately, there's no way to snap it to that position because this object that I'm seeing here is outside of the symbol, but I can line it up that way. Okay, so I'm going to delete that because I don't actually want that shape in there. So I'll double click back out and delete that guy. And so now I'm back inside of my symbol. Alright, so always make sure you're drawing in the right symbol. Beyond that, make sure you're drawing on the right layer. So oftentimes what happens, even with me, is after all these years of doing this, is I'll be like, making edits, I'll be like erasing, and I'll do an eyedrop, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, fill that in, I like it, and I'm doing all this nice work on the blue layer, and I'm feeling good about it. Then I'll come over here to the flame layer, I'll eyedrop that, do a little bit of erasing, and I'll do a little bit of painting, and I'll say, yeah, it's looking really good, I really like it. I'll come up here and do an erase there, then like maybe I adjust it there, a little bit of paint, clean that up, and I don't know if you noticed, but at no point did I actually switch to the flame layer. So let's take a look at what that does. If I come in here and I try to edit this curve, you'll notice again that I'm getting that indicator that something is wrong. There's this extra line through here, and then up here there's an extra line too. And I'll grab this, and then it shows me even more weirdness, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Well, if I turn on outline mode on both layers, and this is confusing because the water is orange and the fire is purple. Let's double click on that color there. Make the water blue, and make the fire orange, so we can very clearly and easily see what's going on. So I can see that some of my water is on the fire, but when I look at the colors, the problem is it's the same color, so it's hiding in there, and I can select these separately. You see that? So the solution is easy. All I gotta do is I gotta lock my fire layer, lasso around all of those parts that are blue, do a Control-X for cut it out, and then unlock my fire layer, lock my water layer, and then go to the fire layer and paste it in place with Control-Shift-V. That'll do the job. Okay, so make sure you draw inside of the right symbol on the right layer. Pro tip number 3 deals with object drawing mode. Now, if you were not able to follow the first tutorial, I highly recommend that you go back and look at how to set up keyboard shortcuts. But there was one in particular that I went over. You'll remember it was under Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, under Tools panel. There's a little bugger called Object Drawing. Sorry, bugger is a really bad word in other countries. I apologize for my language. Alright, Object Drawing, there you go. And remove it there so that it will no longer be set to J. Normally it's set to J, but in that first tutorial we turned it off. Even with it turned off there, it will still show up here when you have the brush tool selected. So when I do a normal stroke, notice that I can select it like so, but with object drawing turned on, it gets this outline around it. And then I can still fill in. Now this is the confusing thing about object drawing mode, is you can still make some edits to these objects that you're painting. I can fill it in, I can erase, and it just is, it's really, really confusing. The problem is it always has this border around it. So what I cannot do is I cannot select the fill, I can only select the box. And I cannot bend the curve. You'll see that it gives me the bend curve icon on my cursor, but that's not working. Okay, so to get rid of an object, I can do Control B to break it apart. To turn off object drawing mode, you can toggle it here, or like I said, you can prevent yourself from ever turning it on accidentally with the J key through your keyboard shortcuts. So if I do want a group, I can select any number of shapes all at once, and I can do Control G, which will group them together. That's different than an object, and it's different than a symbol. It cannot be erased, but it's also not tracked in your library. A symbol exists and lives in your library. Groups do not. You can double click and go inside of it. You see now I'm inside of the group, and I can make edits now that I'm in it. I can go back up onto the stage. I actually do use grouping. I do use Control G for a variety of things because it's a handy way to group things up, move them all as one, do things as a bundle temporarily, and then I usually break it apart shortly after. But object drawing mode, I really never use. The only time you would use object drawing was like an example that I learned from Adam Phillips. A little shout out to that guy. He's awesome at what he does. If you come over here and set your transparency to like 50, and you turn on your object drawing mode, you can do something like this where you sort of build up your shapes. It's kind of cool, right? And you can see here, because every stroke was slightly transparent, they all add up to create sort of a unique fill. And you can do interesting things with like more volumetric cloudy shapes. It works a lot better if you do like a fatter brush. So if each stroke is like a cloud or something like that, you can like, it's really rough, but it's a way to kind of build up your shapes like that. And then you can do things like blur it out so that it blends together and it feels nice. But other than that, really, I don't need it as a hotkey per se, so I like to disable it. So yeah, there's a few pro tips on how to draw in Flash and how to avoid some common pitfalls of drawing in Flash. And I hope you learned something.